I'm the primary programme lead here at Haybridge SCIIT. We're just down the road from you in Hagley. We run postgraduate teacher training courses. And let me just explain a little bit about that. So some people choose to go to university and get a degree first, and then they come to a teacher training provider like us, and they do a 9 months course to get qualified teacher status, which is called a postgraduate certificate in education, which is the academic part, with the QTS. So we run courses like that. So you might have friends and family that have done that route into teaching. And a lot of people that want to be secondary school teachers do that because they're very good at one subject, and then they do the teaching qualification after. At Haybridge, we're very unusual because we also run a degree in primary education, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. So there are those two main routes into teaching. So you can either get a degree and do your PGCE after, or you can get a degree and get your QTS qualified teacher status at the same time, which is good if you know that you definitely want to be a teacher. So that's why people choose that route. You might also have heard of degree apprenticeships. So those are coming. The government have introduced them and are piloting them in some places, but they're very few and far between. So I wouldn't obviously look into it and investigate it and see if that's an option, but especially in primary, because it's not a shortage subject as yet, there isn't that much money being invested into those at the moment. So the main two routes are that degree or degree and the PGCE. Okay, so if you have any questions about routes into teaching, do pop those into the chat and I can answer them at the end, even if you're not interested in primary, because as I say, we run lots of different courses here at Haybridge SCIIT, so I know all about it. Okay, so I'm going to share my presentation with you now. Okay, so some of you might have been to Haybridge before to look around the sixth form, or you might have had friends here. So you know that we are a high school in Hagley. There's a train station by us, and lots of ex-pupils from your sixth form have come to us because it's very local to where you live. Okay, so I'm going to explain the course and see if it's of interest to some of you, maybe for the future. Okay, so as I've said, we're based at Hagley, just down the road from where a lot of you are, and we have our own dedicated rooms that we use. So although you're within the school, you don't have to kind of socialise with the younger children. We're in separate buildings. So what's different about our course from a traditional university? So as I've already said, it is a BA Honours degree, and you get qualified teacher status in just 3 years. Now, you can do that at lots of places. You can do it at Worcester and Newman and Wolverhampton, but a lot of people come to us for these reasons. Okay, so the first reason is that you get significantly more time in school with us. So our course is like an apprenticeship. So you have 2 days every week in a school that's local to where you live. And that is the reason that most people choose our course over a traditional university. So instead of doing lots of academic to start with and not going into a school, with us, you do the academic for a day and a half a week. And then for 2 days a week, you're in school, learning on the job, learning by doing. Okay, so you get a lot more time with the children from September than you do on any other course. That's why we're called a school-centred initial teacher training, because you learn in the school. So some of you might have heard or be doing T-levels, and it's a very similar course from the T-levels courses, in that you're learning on the job and you're doing the academic at the same time. You get 1 full year of training in each school. So instead of doing little blocks of training, you do a full year. So you will be in your first year, you would be in one school from September up until May. And that means that you get to know the children, staff like you do Harvest Festival, you do the Christmas play, you do the parents' evenings, everything like that. Okay, so people really like how much time they're in one school. We have a very small cohort of trainees, so we have between 10 and 20 trainees in a year group on our undergraduate course. So again, it is run very similar to your sixth form will be like. So you're all in the same room together. We're in the same room all day. There's lots of discussion, lots of doing, lots of questioning. You don't move around. It's one input per day, if that makes sense. So you get to know everybody in your cohort really well because it's a small group of trainees, and by the end of it you all know each other really, really well. So although we don't have a big student union here like you will get at lots of student universities, our trainees still socialise with each other. They go to the pub together, they go for lunch, they go pottery painting, all sorts of things. So you still get a good friendship group. It's just in a smaller group than a traditional university. So as I've already said, you have local placements to where you live. So wherever you live locally, I will sort you out a school close. So it's usually maximum of 20 minutes away from where you live. That's very different from the universities because some of the universities, so when I used to work at Worcester, we would send a lot of our trainees to Wales, up to an hour and a half away. So that's something we really pride ourselves on, is having local placements, and we've got lots around Stourbridge, Halesowen, etc. So you might have a small placement in your first year, so somewhere like Clent, which is like a Church of England, lovely small school. You might go somewhere different in your second year, a socially deprived area such as Warndon in Worcester, which is an outstanding school. So our trainees always do really well there. And then in your third year, you might go somewhere completely different, like Summerhill in Tipton, and they're an Apple accredited school. So the children don't write in books, everything's on an iPad. So over the 3 years, you will have seen 3 completely different schools local to where you live.
You've gone muted. Oh, sorry,
yeah,
you've gone muted.
Yeah. So by the time, thank you. I don't know why I did that. So by the time you come to get a job, you will know what kind of school you want, and your second and third placements, you get a say in where you want to go. So you say, please, can I try a school like this? And then I make that happen for you. So you're not just allocated a school without a say in it. Okay, so we pride ourselves on being really supportive. So you're in school 2 days a week, but if something goes wrong, we will help you. Okay, so if you don't like the placement, or you're struggling with the age group or something like that, we come in and help you. We don't just leave you. And because you're at school and you're coming into Haybridge every week, if something's going wrong, you can just have an informal chat with us, and we can kind of put your mind at rest about that kind of thing. So that's Katie, who's the other primary mentor. So Katie and I are both primary school teachers by trade. So we always are very passionate about making the lectures interesting and practical and useful to you. So although we do the academic side and research and theory-based practice, we also look at how you're going to make a lesson interesting. How are you going to make it engaging? Because that's something that's really important. I think people want to be primary school teachers because they want to be enthusiastic and full of joy, and we really try and do that in our lectures. Another thing that's different about us from a traditional university is that you have a set day and times of your lectures, and that stays the same all year. So at a traditional university, you might have 2 hours on a Monday morning and then 3 hours on a Wednesday afternoon, and that will change every semester. With us, you have set times and days for the entire year. So for example, here you can see we have the emerging teacher lectures on a Tuesday, so that would be 9 till 3 on Tuesday. And then they have core module, which is 9 till 12. And those 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, stays the same for the whole year. Okay, so that means that our trainees that want to work alongside know that they're always free on a Monday, for example. We have a lot of like athletes and people that work coming to us because of that reason. They know that they need a whole day free and they need that day to stay the same. So that's something that's our trainees really like. As you will have seen from that calendar, we only do one assignment at a time. So as you can see, we do emerging teacher, you have a holiday, you submit it, and then the next one, developing child, starts. Okay, so you have one assignment at a time and there's no exams on our course. Everything is coursework. Okay, and then core, which is maths, English and science, that runs all year, and then the assignment is right at the end of the year. So there's hardly any overlap in the assignments, which is a real strength of the course, I think. As I've already said, it's delivered by Katie and I, who are both primary school teachers, so we know what it takes to make a good teacher, and our trainees always come out really, really strong, and we really support you and are kind to you throughout the course. So we know you all individually, we know what you're good at, we know what you need help with, we know what your dogs are called. So we really, really look after our trainees. Those of you that are interested in real particular parts of education, if you choose our course, we allow you to specialise. So, for example, one of my trainees is fluent in British Sign Language. So in her 3rd year, she's going to have one placement in a school for children that are deaf. Another of my trainees is very interested in working in a pupil referral unit, so she will be doing that. Some trainees want to go in reception, so they get to do that for a whole year. Some trainees say, please don't put me in reception. They're too little, so they don't do that. Okay, so you get a say in where you want your course to go, and we're very good at allowing you to do that and setting you up, which is great for your future career. And because of all of those approaches that we take, we have a very, very high employment rate. So kind of 100% of our trainees get jobs, and they often get jobs in one of the 3 schools that they have been in. Because you've been in school so much longer than if you go to a traditional university, it just makes you basically a better teacher and more employable. So that's one of the reasons we have such a high employment rate. Okay, so sometimes people say, well, that's too good to be true. It must be a Mickey Mouse course. What's the catch? Okay, well, the first catch is that we don't have a big student union, as I've already said. You know, it's run like a sixth form. So you come to us, you have your lectures, and you go home again. So that's the major difference. So if you kind of want the go away to uni and go to the student union, we can't offer that. Okay, but what we can offer is obviously you still get an academic degree from Birmingham City University. This article is one of my trainees from last year. It's her dissertation, and it was such a high standard that it got published in the BCU Education Journal. Because of the support that we offer, 1/4 of our trainees last year got a first class degree, and that's going to be replicated this year as well. So if you find the academic side of things a bit tricky, or you think, gosh, I don't know how to do that, we really support with the academic writing on our course. So as I said, the same is you get exactly the same academic degree as if you went to Birmingham City University. You get the same degree. So you get the degree and you get qualified status, qualified teacher status in 3 years. So it's a buy one, get one free qualification, basically. Instead of doing a 4-year course, you get it in just 3 years. You do get access to all of Birmingham City University's facilities, so their online library, their disability support, student services, all of that's available to you as well. Some of our trainees go quite regularly up on the train to Birmingham. Some of them never go at all, and they just use the library that's online. Those of you that are slightly nearer Worcester, you can also use the Hive as well. And we have something called the Sconnell scheme, which means you can use that academic library as well. Okay. You get use of all of our facilities, the gym, the cafe, the free parking, all of that. So that's available to you. And what we really try and do is enrich you as a teacher. So we do team building activities, we do have specialist PE coaching, we do visits to lots of schools so you can see what lots of schools are like. We have lots of external speakers come in and do specialist sessions with you, so art teachers, science teachers, RE teachers, all of those things as well. So we're really trying to make you a rounded primary school teacher, not just kind of get you through the degree. So we do try and make sure we do lots of nice things with you as well. Another thing that's the same as a university is that it's university term dates. So you start in mid-September and you finish at May half term. You have all the half term holidays off, so you don't have anything to do then in terms of school, and you get 3 weeks for Christmas and Easter. So you do get all the advantages of it being a university course with that lovely long summer. And at the end of the 3 years, you get to graduate at the Symphony Hall in Birmingham, along with all the other BCU students. So that's really lovely as well. Okay, so who does this course suit? So it suits practical learners, people that learn on the job and want to get stuck in. It suits people that like learning as part of a small cohort. So maybe you might be a bit shy and you might be a bit worried to go into a massive lecture hall or that kind of busy environment. It also suits people that like to talk and like lots of discussion, because there's lots of opportunity for that. We kind of expect you to speak and get stuck in. It suits people that want a placement close to home, so they want to train locally to where they live. So we get school leavers, so 18-year-olds, but we also get people coming to it later in their 20s, 30s, 40s even. So we do get a mix of people on the course, which is really nice. And obviously the final thing is you have to want to live at home while studying. So obviously live with your parents, live with your partner, whatever that looks like, but we haven't got any accommodation here. Okay, so everybody on the course is local, which is another quite nice thing about making the friend group as well. In terms of the course requirements, you need 5 GCSEs at grade 4, English, maths and one of the sciences, and you need 112 UCAS points, which is about BBC in A levels. But if you need any help with that, your careers advisors or I can help you with that. So a lot of people that come to us have got BTEC, and that's absolutely fine. And as I said, a lot of people now that are coming to us do T levels as well. So as long as it's equivalent to around 112 UCAS points, then that is great. And obviously you have to want to be a primary school teacher, because it's not a very good course if you don't. So in terms of how you apply, so next year UCAS will open up again in October, and you apply via UCAS just like you do to any of the other universities. You will be interviewed. It's a very small, friendly thing. There'll be a group of you doing a nice planning task all together, and then you have a formal interview, and we do try and tell you on the day whether you've been offered a place, and then obviously it's just reliant on your kind of UCAS points, but we can go through clearing and sort you out that way as well. So it's a very small, friendly thing, and we try and just see the best of you and see your potential. So if you think that might be a course that appeals to you, as I say, we get lots of trainees from your sixth form coming to us because they like it so much. You could come on an open event. So we have those every couple of weeks. So bring your parents with you, come and have a look around our facilities, have a chat, because a lot of parents think, oh, it's too good to be true, but then I convince them it's real. Have a look at our website, follow us on social media. We do lots of events in September and October just before UCAS opens. So you can come and have a chat and see if it's something that you think might suit you. Okay, so I'll just leave that up for you. I know you're going to get sent this as well, but I think, let me just flick forward. Yeah, no, I'll just leave it on that slide, and we'll leave it there, I think. So thank you for listening on a very hot afternoon. I did go quicker to make up for me going late. Thank you for being late, which I can only apologise for. So I'll stay on the call, and if anybody wants to ask me any questions, then I'll stay here if that's all right, Louise.
Thank you, Kate. We've got just a couple of questions that were put in beforehand. So if I may ask those whilst any of our students are going to put those online. Can you explain the cost, first of all, of the and how the payment system works, and from student finance, and how that may operate, so students know the affordability of this?
That's a great question. So because you apply through UCAS, it's exactly the same as going to any other university. So most universities in the year coming up are going to be charging £9,500 per year for their course. Okay, so we are in line with that, but you don't pay that. You apply to student loans, which is a government organisation, and the government pays that for you to us. And then once you start earning over a certain amount of money, once you've graduated, you gradually pay that money back.
So okay, it's the same as going to any other university, but there are obviously no other costs in addition to that to borrow.
So there's no hidden costs, there's nothing else. Obviously, you have to find your own way to placement, but because we place you so close to home, that cost will be minimal. And then obviously you're not paying for your accommodation or any other costs in the course. So that 9,500 will be your main cost. The other thing is obviously because you know when you can work, you know that you've got one day off in the week and the weekend. Actually, some of our trainees manage to come out with not very much debt at all, which is another quite appealing thing about the course.
That's brilliant. Work experience, we were talking about that just whilst we were delayed, starting just for a moment, about gaining work experience. Can you just give students a bit of a heads up on how they should approach a local school or whoever to gain, or even thinking outside the box where else they might gain some valuable work experience, please?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would really recommend only applying for the course if you've been into a primary school, because what sometimes we think a primary school teacher is, and I'd say this for secondary as well, often isn't. You know, it is quite a hard job. It's very time consuming. It's a very busy job, and it doesn't suit everybody. So it's really important that you do as much work experience as you can before coming on any of these teaching courses. So the best way to do it, I expect lots of you did it in like year 10 and 11 and maybe in sixth form as well. Now's quite a good time of year to see. So the first thing to do is see if you know anybody in school. So you might have an auntie that's a TA or something like that. We also offer school experience days. So if you do want to try it out and you can't sort it out for yourself, then we can sort that out for you in one of our local primary schools, just to see if you like it. Because obviously committing to a 3-year primary degree when you're not quite sure teaching is for you, it's best to find that out first, isn't it? Okay, so my advice is definitely do it. See if you know anybody, or you can go back to your local primary school, and if not, get in touch with me and I can help you.
That's really helpful, thank you. And I mean, although I think it's really important to be in the classroom, there are also additional ways of gaining some sort of experience around working with young people, so that, you know, in addition to being in a classroom, you might go and volunteer at a sports summer school or something where you're working with young people, which always helps, I think, boost your application. But there's no substitute for being in the classroom and actually experiencing that. So I think Kate's advice and offer there is great. And as you know, students as well, by joining the teaching pathway, which next year will become the education pathway, because we want to try and kind of broaden students' awareness of education, not just teaching, and how education can be utilised as a career. But to make sure that if you haven't joined the pathway, that you do join the pathway, so that we can keep you informed of opportunities that come along to gain these work experiences. Another question, Kate, about perhaps a little bit leaning towards some students who are interested in both primary or secondary, or we have got some who are interested in secondary, and obviously the Haybridge SCIIT is focused on the primary and early years. But could you just give a very, very brief outline of recommendations for secondary school students? Thank you.
So most secondary school teachers have gone to university and done a degree in a subject they're interested in. So, for example, geography. And then once they finish that specialist degree, they then come to someone like us or Worcester University or somebody else and do their postgraduate certificate in education. The difference between primary and secondary, as I'm sure you all realise, is that primary, you're teaching a broad range of subjects. So you're teaching 13 subjects, which presents its challenges. But in secondary, you're teaching 1 or 2 subjects in great depth. So that's why you would need an A-level or a degree in that subject to then go on and teach it. The advantage of secondary, obviously, is you can choose a subject you're really passionate about and really focus in on that, which is lovely. And also with secondary, there are some bursaries available for shortage subjects. So that means it wouldn't cost you anything to train at all. Computing, physics, maths, subjects like that have got a bursary, a tax-free bursary. Some universities, so I know Worcester do this, do offer secondary courses like the one I've just described that we do. So it's a 3-year course. You get a degree in a subject such as maths, and then in your final year, you're doing your QTS, so you're getting your qualified teacher status. So there are courses like that where you can do secondary in 3 years, like the one I've just described. So those are worth looking out for, again, because they're quite good value for money.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you very much. That's really, really useful to know. Lastly, in the ones that I've got, which is a slightly amusing question, but a really valid one. If there are any teachers on this, how much free time do you truthfully think teachers get each week and in their holidays? And I think that's an absolutely great question, because, you know, work-life balance is very important. And I think when students are looking forward in their careers, actually that's not a bad question to ask.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, I do think teaching is quite a hard job if you want an excellent work-life balance. So just to give you an example of a day of a primary school teacher, and this is true for secondary as well, you would get to work for 8 at the latest, so maybe 7:45, 8 o'clock. You would set your classroom up. The children would come in about 8:30, 8:45. In primary, you would teach all day, and you would maybe do break duty in that time as well. So you would have at least 5 lessons in that day, that each of which you'd have had to prep and get the resources ready for. Then at the end of the day, you might have meetings. You would have to mark all the books, and you would have to prep for tomorrow, and that's the same in secondary. You do get a little bit of time out called PPA time, which you get 2 hours a week out of the classroom. And as you get more experience, everything gets faster. So that is a real, you know, once you get used to it. I would say with all of teaching, it can take you ages to do something, and some people are almost quite give their life over to it. But some people that I've met that have done really well have said, no, I want to do a good job for the children, but actually this is a job, and I'm going to finish at 4:30, and I've done a good job, and I'm going home. So I think people are getting better at teaching in drawing boundaries, but it is certainly not 9 till 3. it is a long way off there. I would think it's at least 8 till 5 job, and then obviously you've got to prep. The problem with teaching, to be perfectly honest, is in the day you're doing a job, and that job then generates work which you have to do after the children leave. It's not like an office job where you're getting your work done in the day. The work that you're doing is almost generating more work, which is what's tricky about teaching, I think. But it's rewarding. And in what other job can you go and play rounders? Can you be on a school trip? Can you be doing a harvest festival? You know, it does come with a great variety. And that's why I always liked it, because no day, you know, what other job can you be getting a child dressed up as a cow and singing a nativity song? So
that sounds like fun. We don't have that in our office. Not yet, anyway. Kate, that's absolutely brilliant. We haven't had any further questions, but Faye's been typing busily in the background. And I would encourage students to ask further questions via careers@keds.ac.uk or actually directly to Kate on her email, as she's very kindly left with us there, or Angela Barker. But do have a look. We will be sending this presentation round. We'll send Kate's slides round, and we'll send the recording round. If you would like to ask any further questions, we can pass them on, so do that. Try and find some work experience. We have work experience workshops here at college, so look out for those, and our work experience coordinator Jane heads those up, so you know, do make sure that you get that in a timely fashion. There's Jane there, wonderful, waving. Thank you, Jane. She's probably a familiar face to most of you, but obviously Faye, myself and Jane are here in the Careers Hub to answer any questions. You can make a one-to-one appointment or come along to a drop-in, either work experience or obviously into the Careers Hub. So thank you very much indeed for joining us today. Faye's just typing some last things in there. Kate, thank you so much for joining us. We've been most grateful to hear about this really quite, you know, very different approach to teaching. And I'm sure as our students go through, they will understand what this, the value of this particular mode of entry into teaching offers from what you've said. And I'd encourage students to digest that and come back and ask any questions. Jane's just typing, I can see also in the chat, and I'm just going to let her do that, and then we'll say our goodbyes. I'm not quite sure what Jane is typing, but I'm hoping as well, this has been Futures Week for students here at King Ed's, Kate, so we're hoping that students have taken advantage of these opportunities. Great point, thank you, Jane. DBS applications, so those are the necessary authorisation for students to go and work in places with young people and be volunteering in that situation. So come in and see Jane, and have a look at the pathway information as well on the teams. Super, we'll wrap that up. Thank you very much indeed, Kate. Thank you to all of you students. Have a great end of the week.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, bye-bye. Bye-bye.